Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Riv, the day before the election. So,
The preliminary election.
yeah.
And if you want to get Paul Coogan out of office, make sure you go out and vote tomorrow. Okay?
Send a message.
Because it's necessary. Now, I've got a little housekeeping to take care of. First off, we don't like blocking people. We don't like locking them out. We believe in the freedom of speech. Unlike political candidates. Okay? I have this day, moments before this show went on the air, blocked Gabriel Amaral, Brenda Marie, and Bruno Cordero. I blocked the minions. I will not have vitriol spread on the Spindle City Straight Talk. I will not have someone block their comments to hide their comments in a cowardice manner. Because that's what happens when you block someone. They can't see your comments. But I went and I saw them. And calling me a liar to deflect the truth doesn't work. And I don't want to hear, your 9 viewers are going to be a problem. Maybe we have 9 people who view us live. Right now we have 6. Maybe we have 9 viewers who view us live. But we have a lot more who view us throughout the days between the shows. And we have a lot more on YouTube. So we've been at this game for a long time. All you wingnut podcasters who think you're something special because you pay for 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 viewers doesn't mean anything. Okay? People follow from where it is. We have said since day one, and I'm going to quote this, because this has been the same message we have had on this show forever. Spindle City Straight Talk is a political commentary program that presents issues relevant to the people and city of Fall River in an honest and truthful manner, without the influence of politics or financial influence. So to turn around and say to people that I or anyone else has been promised a job by Carlos Caesar or anyone else is absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Okay? It's a shame that people have to get blocked because they can't face people face to face. Although Gabe Amaral did say that if he was going to attack Jim Lyons, he'd do it face to face. Well, you were in the room when you voted against him. Why didn't you say something to him then? Okay, and let's get into a few things. Because he's called me a liar on all of these. I was truly going to try and get the pictures from the Bristol County Registry of Deeds showing the foreclosures and the issues that Gabe Amaral had with his property located at 224 Grinnell Street in Fall River. And in the Bristol County Registry of Deeds, Fall River Registry of Deeds, located in book 7462, page 243, you will find the foreclosure of his property. You'll also find municipal liens on the property for unpaid utilities and taxes. It looks like the liens were paid for by the bank in order to foreclose on the property. Many people have had financial issues in the early 2000s. Hell, even I had to renegotiate my mortgage with my bank in the early 2000s. But I took the initiative of renegotiating the note, as was being offered by many banks during this period. So remember, proper financial management means you take the initiative. I'll tell you another thing. I decided today to go looking at an OCPF report for Gabriel Amaral. And guess what I found? A fine of $2,300 plus for failure to file financial reports. He received a notice at 10 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and more. He filed for a waiver. And in the waiver, he said that his treasurer was overwhelmed and required him to file the annual report himself. They granted him the waiver. OCPF doesn't like to fine people. Okay? Getting a waiver from OCPF is a little easy, unless it's something major. But is this the type of management that we're going to have on the 6th floor if Gabe Amaral is elected? People who can't do their job? I was looking through the OCPF report. I may have missed it because it could be listed under something else, but I didn't see all those T-shirts listed anywhere. I didn't see his signs listed anywhere. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I missed it. It's possible. We do this to everybody. Whether it be Gabe Amaral, Chris Sylvia, Paul Coogan, Paulo Caesar, doesn't matter who it is. If we find something, we call it out. And let me tell you something else. If you piss me off, and that it takes a little bit to do that. If you make a comment which calls into my credibility, if your minions make a comment calling into my credibility, you best be ready to fucking prove it. I can prove it. I put the information out there so people can easily find it. You deflect. And I hope you're happy deflecting. Because this is the last I'm going to address it. Tomorrow's the preliminary. Win, lose, or draw. I'll tell you now. If Paul Coogan and Gabe Amaral make the general election, I'm voting for Paul Coogan. Better the devil you know. And as for job promises, I wouldn't be talking about that. Because there are people out there saying that they have a way of running the city with you in office. And they're going to be able to do it from behind the scenes. Is that what you want people to know about you? Because it's being said. It's being said. I don't appreciate this type of attack. But let me tell you something. It is what it is. Okay? And no, David, it's not so much for ABC, because I'm still ABC. But I also have to look at putting in somebody who can't put a team together that can honestly and accurately follow the law. We already have somebody in office who doesn't follow the law. And that's the problem, David. Maybe people will see it. I don't know. Yeah, the Express MBTA train, Linda. That's for sure. Enough with my tirade. We got a comment on YouTube. Says, keep up the good work.
Well, I'm not. We've been doing this a very long time. Even before we became on the, even before we came on the air, we always went in front of councils and and fought for whatever we believed in for a long time. So, uh, yeah, I understand you needed to say what you said because I think that you got blocked and then somebody talks about you. We don't have any problem talking about people in front of a camera at the city council meeting as you sat there in a council meeting and watched me tell uh, the former city administrator when he said, "Oh, you got something to say about me? Say it." And boy, did I say it! And I said it in front of the entire council, and I laid them out in lavender. But this is the problem. You want to run for public office, everything about you is going to be exposed. The fact that a lot of this stuff hasn't been exposed yet is because whoever the finalist is will have to suffer that, and because Paul Coogan is not worried because he thinks that there's nobody that's a threat, and he thinks that the people of Fall River are stupid. They're going to continue to sit on their asses and let him raise taxes and just complain about it, but not go to the polls and boot his ass out. He thinks we are stupid and lazy and won't do what we have to do. So you have to prove him wrong. I mean, hopefully we'll have one of the largest preliminary election turnouts we've had in years. Hopefully, they will turn out in the final election. Hopefully, they will vote with their pocketbook and pay attention to issues. Everything is fair game, unfortunately, in politics, and your financial background, et cetera, et cetera. What disturbs me is you don't block somebody and then call them names. But call them
That's
names.
right. Well, here's the funny thing. Amy Blanchett says people should know by now. You come with receipts. Damn straight.
That's right. You've got the proof. We always, if it's an opinion, we will say it's an opinion.
That's right.
If we talk about something and we say that this is a fact, we can prove they're facts. And I got stacks and stacks of papers. You see me hold up stuff in front of the camera. What I wrote to Paul Coogan 6 years ago, what I wrote to the councils. I have records of everything. But that's the issue. But the issue here is we can't have a government when people become delusionary. This is the thing. You've got to go out and vote. I want everybody that supports everybody to go out and vote. I will vote the way I always vote with my head,
and not your heart.
not my heart. And I look, and everybody. I hope people begin to look at this election and frame it by looking at Paul Coogan's abysmal record. And look at the people who were in the election, listen to what they had to say. And I also look at a person, Abraham Lincoln, the quote I like from Abraham Lincoln is people show their true character by what they do when nobody's looking. And I look at some candidates, most candidates, because they're new. We never heard of them before. But some aren't, very few. But that's what I look at. What has this person done before he or she decided to run for public office that would indicate to me that this person would be working for the people, not for the rich, not for the wealthy, not for the developers, not for screw everybody but the rich people. It's fairly uncommon to find somebody, and a lot of people run with good intentions because they say, okay, I want to become a representative of the people, and we have to take their word for it. But I look at these candidates and I say, okay, we saw Chris Sylvia, and he had, he declared. We think his motives weren't great, but he withdrew. But he's still in the election. It's going to cause a voter to siphon votes. But at least they're anti-Coogan votes, which would hopefully show up in a final election. And then I look at, I didn't hear much from Vandal. So one little bite.
Trial and error, trial and error, trial and error.
and then I look and I say, okay, I look at Carlos Caesar and I say, well, okay, Carlos Caesar has been working for decades in the Flint for the people of the Flint
Over 30 years.
at no without a salary. He's done. I know a lot of people in the Flint, businessmen who he's tried to help, who he has helped. He's invested in his community. It shows that he cares about the regular people. He's been at odds with Coogan before he decided to run, and he's articulated issues that he had with Coogan uh, before he decided to run for public office. So to me, when I look at a candidate and I say, okay, he's already proven to me that he's kind of with the common man. That's important. Talking about some things cancel you out when you talk about cohogs and stuff like that in a city where the budget has nearly doubled and people are having problems and you're ignoring fundamental problems like affordable housing and things and then you try to say I was talking about a forensic audit. Well, you can correct me. I heard a lot of people talking about independent audits. I didn't hear anybody talking about this, but this is the problem. The herd mentality. The herd mentality, people, they talk like we always say, they voted because they got a chow mein sandwich or something, but it's that herd mentality. I like the guy. He told me a funny joke. He did this and he did that. It's not the way to do it, people. We are in trouble in this city. Big, big trouble. I mean, and we're going to be in bigger trouble if he gets a fourth term because now he's not going to care. He realizes that we're going to be in receivership, and he's just going to give all his friends more jobs and cover up for people like he just did for the guy that was on the historical commission that made it absolutely unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable, typical. As he said, you got to be part of the team. The team can do anything. Paul says that somebody who made a totally inappropriate response to the assassination of a human being. He's a nice guy. He didn't really. I don't really think
he does good work. He's a volunteer and he does good work.
He's a volunteer and does good work. Paul will not say that about his enemies, but anybody that he's covering up for, or he just won't talk about it. So, but this is the thing. So, CJ, you went on your rant, and I think it's good.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the fact about the forensic audit, because the only person I ever hear or heard say forensic audit was Carlos Caesar. And as you said, everyone else I heard talked about an audit or an independent audit. I didn't hear anyone say forensic audit except for Carlos Caesar. And now all of a sudden, you have people like Gabe Ambrose saying, no, I've been saying I want a forensic audit all along. They copied me. No, that's not what happened. Listen. When you were approached, Mr. Amaral, by people back in October of last year, you were asked if you were going to run for any office in Fall River, and your reply was no. Then all of a sudden, in June or July of last year, you had already changed your campaign status and had already put a notification in to OCPF that you wanted to run for mayor.
Yeah, well, you're right. And people are supposed to, we said on our first show like almost 16 years ago that follow the money and do your homework. So you got to look at the, things like this. Did you flip your position? Why? And that's the key. But the thing is about this, remember the realm that we're dealing in. We're dealing in the delusionary world of the Democrats and people in the city who, listen, the people who Coogan gave jobs to, the people who, he's making rich. Well, Fortunately, that's part of the game. They have no moral compass. It's about them. They don't care about the people that can't afford their rents. They don't care about the double. But I heard a person that basically said, "Oh, I pay my taxes. I'm not happy about it, but I don't give a shit. I got the money." So this is the problem. I mean, what are you going to do? But the Democrats and people historically delude themselves. Let's look at reality. Stop the bullshit. Look at things logically. If your plumber can't fix your plumbing, he's not a good plumber. You don't hire him. If the guy is running the city into the ground. But Democrats historically are delusionary. They blame everything on everybody else. You're the racist, you're the fascist, you're the this, you're the that. Gun control is going to cure the problem. Charlie Kirk died because of gun control, which is bullshit. Oh, they don't have gun control. There's no guns in Japan. Yes, there are. Because the first thing they do, true fascists do, is take the weapons away from people.
Massachusetts.
The reason that our forefathers passed the Second Amendment was to ensure that if we needed to overthrow the government and protect ourselves, that we had the weapons. There are weapons in London. England supposedly has guns. Their police don't carry guns. Well, they do. They arm themselves when they're going after armed fugitives. Japan, the Yakuza, the Japanese mafia, they all have guns. When you take away the guns from law-abiding citizens, the only people left with guns are the police and the criminals. And you're screwed in the middle. And in the United States, unfortunately, you can't depend on the police, not because the police are not dependable, but because these morons in the Democratic states that want to take your guns away also want to defund the police, run them understaffed, have judges that will let the criminals back out of jail. In Japan, you commit a gun crime, you're done. You'll never see the light of day. You'll never see the light of day. So this is all bullshit. Then they get on the radio. Oh, it's all about. Oh yeah, this guy was This guy was one of them. He was a conservative. No, he wasn't. You don't write fascist on a bullet and shoot a conservative if you're a conservative. He should have shot himself after he got done because he said he didn't like him, and he was one of the premier advocates of the conservative position. It makes no sense. Listen to yourself, you imbeciles. You imbeciles. Now I'm going to read you something, and I love to read stuff that's well written. This was one of the best written things I've ever heard, and it encapsulates it. Charlie Kirk's assassination has really brought conservatives to the realization that you can't fix stupid. You can't fix delusionary. You can't. You can't argue with them because when they make statements like they make and twist everything around on the other guy, this is what happens. But I'm going to read you this. They said, I'm told that I'm supposed to express my heartfelt condolences and then stand in solidarity with those on the other side of the aisle as we condemn political violence and stand unified as one people. But we aren't, quote, one people, unquote, are we? The truth is we haven't been for some time now, and there is really no point in pretending anymore, if there ever was. We are two very different peoples. We may occupy the same piece of geography, but that is where the similarities seem to end abruptly. I convinced myself for a long time that whenever the left called me a racist, a bigot, a sexist, a fascist, a threat to democracy, for even the most innocent disagreements, that it was simply hyperbolic rhetoric done for effect. Now the effect is a widow and two orphan children because the left couldn't bear the thought of a peaceful man debating with them and winning. I don't think they realize yet, but murdering Charlie is going to be remembered as the day where we finally woke up to what this fight really is. It's not a civil dispute among fellow countrymen. It's a war between diametrically opposed worldviews which cannot peacefully coexist with one another. One side will win, one side will lose. Charlie tried to fight the fight through augmentation, through discussion, through peaceful resolution of differences. And the other side murdered him. Not because he was extreme or inciting violence or any other hyperbolic slur they hurled at him. They murdered him because he was effective, because he was unafraid, because he inspired others and made them feel like they had a voice, that they were not alone. And he did it at the very institutions which have fomented so much hatred toward conservatives. I don't want to stand in solidarity with the other side of the aisle. I want to defeat you. I want to defeat the godless ideology that kills babies in the womb, sterilizes confused children, turns our cities into cesspools of degeneracy and lawlessness, and that murdered Charlie Kirk. Social media is aflame right now with leftist celebrations of Charlie's death. I wonder if any among them understand what just happened. If there is a Yamamoto somewhere in their midst, it's a warning. They all have done is awoken a sleeping giant. I doubt it. I think they gave up such introspection and self-awareness a long time ago. I don't know exactly what will happen next. I just know it won't be the same as what happened in the past. There will be thoughts and prayers for Charlie, because Charlie would have wanted thoughts and prayers, not for himself, but for those left behind and for the country he loved. But then there will be a reckoning. My Christian faith requires me to love my enemies and pray for those who curse me. It does not require me to stand idly by in the midst of savagery and barbarism. Quite the opposite. So every time I feel tired, every time I feel discouraged or overwhelmed, I'm going to watch the video of a good man being murdered in Utah. I will force myself to watch it, and I will return to the work of destroying the evil ideology responsible for that and so much more. Rest with God, Charlie. Your fight is over. Ours is just beginning. That is powerful stuff. That is powerful stuff. Think for yourself, morons. Get out there and vote. Do not call people names. Have a debate, but you can't. You just can't do it. It's always guns. It's always gun control. Gun control. Every stinking murderous city in a country is run by people and has gun laws up the wazoo. Are you so stupid that you think that criminals pay attention to laws, that mental cases pay attention? Then you're going to turn it around like you always do. Call him a fascist. Call everybody. Go to the damn polls in mass. Show Coogan that there are more votes against him than there are for him. And pay attention. You know, that you have to do this. If you don't, yeah, you're right. But this is crazy. I mean, listen, like everything is, as you said, CJ, you get these candidates, rather than focusing on the issues, they get into this deflection mode. They argue with each other. This is why we said at the beginning of this whole process this time, there are no reason for debates. Paul Coogan has a record that is just indefensible.
That's right.
Every single candidate should not have been talking about the other candidate. They should have been telling the public how they were going to fix the city, what they think is wrong with the city. And I can tell you, it's not cohogs.
Come on, $4 cohogs is going to be great for the city of Fall River.
You know, listen, things are going to go up. He covered up again. All we got is cover-ups, and this is great. The day before the election, the guy resigned. But what was Paul Coogan's first reaction when one of his team got caught making an absolutely, totally inappropriate remark? Defend, deflect. Oh, he's not. I probably didn't mean it. Yeah, you mean it. When that clown carved fascist on the bullet and shot a conservative leader that had a huge impact on the election because he was an idol with the young people. And then you're going to try to say because his parents were Republicans and conservative and Mormons that he was one of them? No, he hadn't lived with his parents for the last 2 years. He was living with a transgender person. His own father turned him in. This is what they do. They spit like Paul does. Oh, but I don't want to talk about anything negative. No, he doesn't want to talk about his record. Oh, let's all be friends. Horse shit. I'm going to tell you, don't talk about it. And when I'm in power, you can't talk about anything. Colin Dyers is being investigated for asking too many questions. He should be filing a lawsuit for harassment. How dare the superintendent of schools in the United States of America tell an elected representative they're asking too many questions? That's what they got elected to do. This is what Paul Coogan has brought to Fall River. You want to talk about fascism and Nazism? Look at him. But I don't call him a Nazi. I just call him an idiot. People should not be calling people Hitler. People who call people Hitler and Stalin have no idea what those people did. Read your damn history book. And I'm being rhetorical here. I'm talking to an audience that for the most part does pay attention. So I'm not speaking to you guys. I'm speaking rhetorically to the people who are sitting on their dead asses and don't want to go to the polls. This is the thing. How dare they compare anybody with Adolf Hitler and Joe Stalin and Mussolini? Really? And compare January 6th with Pearl Harbor and ignore over 500 riots that killed hundreds of people, maimed hundreds of people, cost hundreds of billions of dollars in damage to the cities that they took place in. Ignore them and then try to say that everybody died that was anywhere near the Capitol on their side died because of January 6th. The only person that died was an unarmed female veteran who was shot by a coward hiding behind a wall and who had already been censured for inappropriate use of his firearm. That's the only person that died. So get your friends to get their heads out of their derriere and get to the polls, because this is what you got to do. You got to pay attention. Stop with the label shit. Look at what they are. You don't get a carpenter that can't put a door in or fix what you need to be fixed. You don't get a plumber that can't fix your plumbing. You don't get an electrician. You don't take your car to a guy that can't fix your car. Your car's in the shop for 8 months and it's still, when you get it back, it's still broken. No. Politicians are not your pals. They're your employees. What does the Constitution say? They are the representative of the people, and they are at all times answerable to us. Make them answer tomorrow. I implore you to get your friends. Get on a phone tonight. Call your friends and tell them to call 5 of their friends and get them to the polls. And I don't care who they vote for. Well, I do, but I can't tell people how to vote. I'm going to vote the way my conscience tells me to vote. But damn it, show this thug that's in a 6th floor that doesn't tell us anything, refuses, covers up everything. Show him that there are enough people interested in this election that he's going to be gone.
And I'm telling you, in my opinion, he endorsed he endorsed the assassination of Charlie Kirk with his response to Bouchard Naraki. And let me tell you something about that. Because of this, quote unquote, you ready for this one? Yep. There's a policy on social media for employees of the city of Fall River. And Paul is going to make sure that every board and commission member gets a copy of that policy. Too little, too late.
Yep. But CJ, you and I, and you know, and I know, a policy is only as good as the enforcement of that policy.
That's right.
And you know that Paul Coogan knew when Malone was going through all those machinations that we had a sexual harassment policy for every department in the city of Fall River, and it's still in City Hall.
Right.
And he doesn't enforce anything. When anything happens to one of his friends, it's like, oh, Kenny Pacheco lost. They lost the bags, whatever the hell they
call Yoder bags.
Yeah, Yoda, whatever the Yoda bags. I'm used to Faraday
cell phone bags.
A Faraday bag is
right.
A little different, but they lose tablets. People are trying to pawn school department tablets. He spends money without authorization. Oh, then his pal, then the choir starts. Oh, Tommy Kerr. Oh, yeah, he's a great guy. I love him. He's a wonderful. Yeah, he pissed away all kinds of money. I don't need to go out for a bid. Screw the taxpayer. He got suspended in 2012. He should have been fired. And here he is, 13 years later, with a much bigger salary, and he screwed the city for the last 13 years. He should have been fired in 2012 when he got suspended. But this is what Coogan does. He surrounds himself with a team that will do his bidding, gets his rich friends rich, and he gives everybody in the city of Fall River that has to work for a living and pay their taxes the finger, because just look at the record. Our budget's doubled, your tax rate's doubled, your water fees doubled, everything's doubled, and what do you got to show for it? $87 million of opera money pissed in a hole. We got nothing. And the people have to go out tomorrow to send a message. So get on the phone. One of the oldest things in the world is phone tree. Call your friends and tell them to go out. If you're voting for yourself, get all your friends out to vote for you. Paul Coogan needs to see that, that people are interested. And if they say, well, I'll just wait till the final election. No, don't. Send a message. Send a message tomorrow.
See, but that's what so many people in Fall River say. Do you know how many people don't know or didn't know that tomorrow was an election day? Can you even imagine that?
Oh, yeah. Well, you can, but I mean, it's horrifying. But
it is.
You
but that's the concern people have. Okay? Renters don't care because they rent. If the taxes go up, it's not going to affect my rent. But when the landlord raises your rent because the taxes went up, you bitch, piss, and moan. And you don't think about the fact that maybe your vote could have changed that. It's tough. It's a tough situation. Yeah. When you don't care, how can you expect anyone else to care?
Yeah, look, CJ, you and I have been on, you and I have had very, very lively with debates with people who we don't agree with, and they've been very intense and stuff. But never have we called for them to die. Never have we tried to tell them that, I was just reading something somebody sent me. It was horrifying. Somebody from some Argentine here on a visa said, she hopes Kirk is burning in hell and he can rot in his piss or something like that. I mean, these people, like I said, it's savagery. This country was created with some of the most aggressive, divisive debate in the world at the Continental Congress. There were nearly fistfights, duels, and everything else, fighting over how we were going to make this country a country. But nobody ever called the other person, actually condoned the murder of people and celebrated it. That is a bridge too far. And I mean, good, some of these people that haven't voted, they may not be able to vote. They don't even know they voted anymore. Ryan Lyons moved all the polls around. Half the people that haven't voted in a while better check their polls tomorrow and make sure they know what they are. Um, and this is a problem. And you can't resort to that stuff. Look, there's a level. Politics is a blood sport. Yeah, you can go hammer and tong, but go on the merits of your what you say. Charlie was always a real gentleman. I mean, you can resort to calling people dummies because you can prove they're dummies. But nobody can justify saying, I want the other person dead because they have a different opinion. I don't care. I don't care. You can't do that. You're truly evil when you do that. Because that's, as I said, the Japanese Book of the Sword said it's justifiable to kill an evil person. Why? To stop them from perpetrating their evil on society. Not just because you don't like them or don't like their ideas. If they are truly evil, and people who can celebrate in the face of basically an infant and a 3-year-old losing their 31-year-old father. There's just something wrong with these people. They have no moral compass. They're not even, I mean, they are mentally ill. These people are all, the Democrats better start looking in the mirror because all the nutcases lately are all them. It's all them. Why? And both sides. I don't like inflammatory rhetoric from the right side either. There's a time and place. A wise admiral once said, and it's posted in the halls of Annapolis, the Naval Academy. And this is the quote, and I'm paraphrasing because I haven't looked at it in a while, but it says, the society, and in this place, for society, we can replace the individual. That draws a broad line of demarcation between its thinking man and its fighting man will soon find its thinking done by fools and its fighting done by cowards. And this is what we got. Keyboard warriors. You want to fight? A fight and a debate is a different thing. I love debates. People say, well, you get mad, you're going to fight. No, I always drew a broad line of demarcation. You want to fight with somebody, there better be a legitimate reason. That's why we have boxing rings and cages and stuff and back alleys. But that is when people have lost it. When you have to fight, when you have to get into a physical altercation, it can't be about politics. It can't be. We will never move forward as a country, as a city, as a state, as long as ideology trumps logic. You have to listen to what Hegel said. We need two sides of everything without trying to kill the other side. You need a thesis, an antithesis, and from that debate, we get a synthesis, a better idea, something that we can meet on common ground. And CJ and I, unfortunately, I more than CJ, are old enough to remember when we had vigorous debate in Congress and in the Senate. And Tip O'Neill would fight hammer and tong with Republican counterparts in the Senate. And when it was over, they went out and they had lunch. You remember that, CJ?
Yes, I do.
Bonnie Frank.
I also remember that all politics is local.
That's Tip O'Neill's. And I remember when we had people who, as I said, we didn't have this radicalism. This is, they fought for what they believed in, but realized that the other person, they can disagree without being disagreeable. But these people, they're crazy. This society is degenerated into fundamentally, and I have to agree with that piece I read, it's savagery now. These people think that anybody that disagrees with them, and to, like I said, it just boggles my mind when they dance in glee over the assassination of somebody. And listen, inflammatory rhetoric from the right doesn't do any good either. You want to talk, you want to call them dumb. I think there's a lot of dumbbell Democrats and there's a lot of dumbbell Republicans. As a matter of fact, I think half of the people in Washington are dumbbells, regardless of party. All they're worried about is their own investments, making money, and keeping their party in power. I'm logical enough to realize, but I'm going to put the least of the evils in office if I can. And when you have, one party that covets, they both covet power, and we have to get back. They say if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. We should learn enough from past history to find a way to get past this. Democrats, put your nuts in the nut house. Republicans, put your nuts in the nut house. Let's get back to where we can have a lively debate, because every time, and it's not only now, it's forever. It's like, now they killed Charlie Kirk, but they killed John F. Kennedy. They killed Robert Kennedy. They killed Martin Luther King.
Malcolm X.
Malcolm X. Why? And Malcolm X is a classic example. There was a guy that was a black separatist out of the Black Panther movement who said that they should have a separate state, didn't like white people. He was a Muslim. He went to Mecca. He saw white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Muslims, and he came back and he said, I was wrong. And as soon as he said that, they assassinated him. This is the problem. This shows one thing clearly, people, if you don't have any analytic ability, that political parties are interested in power and solely power. And if you are an impediment to that and they think you're going to hurt them, they will do everything they can to eliminate you. Not literally eliminate you, because they've killed people on both sides. Robert Kennedy, I witnessed those assassinations. I saw the videos of those things. But you look at them throughout history. Martin Luther King was a powerful force. They killed him. John Kennedy was a president that was bringing people together, and they killed him. Robert Kennedy, again, another threat. This is not the way a country that was based on freedom and allowing people to have different opinions. Remember, we've got Amish that still don't have electricity and don't believe in war, and Quakers who don't go to war. They made an old movie about Quakers not going to war, Friendly Persuasion. And but this country was created to bring those people who had been persecuted because they had different beliefs to a country where they could still have different beliefs and peacefully coexist. And we did for nearly 200 years. So what the hell happened? People with a brain like we're supposed to have will not take their government back and control it. So let's do that. Let's do that tomorrow, please. I'm telling all my friends to vote. If they don't, well,
the sad part about it is, okay, and I'm not comparing what has been going on between Gabe Amaral and myself to what happened to Charlie Kirk. Not by any sense of the word. But let me tell you something. It's in a similar fought-out war. Okay? If you want to debate me, I'll debate you. I'll have an open discussion with you. We may not see eye to eye, and that's what a debate's about. But you know what? Doesn't mean I'm going to pull out a 38 or a 9mm and plug you. It doesn't mean I'm going to call you a liar. It doesn't mean I'm going to say, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay? Because as Amy Blanchett said, People should know by now. You come with receipts, and I do. I posted direct line of sight directions to where the information was, where you could find it. If you don't want to find it, don't say you weren't told. Say that you wanted to remain blinded. Say that you didn't want to believe that that could happen. But we've always said on this show, don't believe us. Do your research.
Yeah,
but when
right.
we give you the information direct on even where to find it, and you don't go look for it, that is a problem.
And when we give information, you can take that to the bank because I've been doing that
Oh,
in front
yeah.
of council for 40 years, and they've never ever seen me present it. They're getting people getting paid $150,000, and I'm representing the healthcare system for zero. The state appointed me, and I'm doing it, and I have done it before for other things, but I'm doing it because I want to get good healthcare for the people. But the numbers are always inaccurate, and you got people making $150,000, and they can't give you a number. That's the problem. As you said, your debate's the foundation of a peaceful debate.
And that's why we've had no respect for these quote unquote debates that they've had. Okay? I have no respect for former reporter at all because I am a firm believer that Mike Sylvia sold his soul to Paul Coogan to get him to come to the debate. Sold his soul to Paul Coogan to get the advertising because the former reporter has Paul Coogan's ad right at the top of the page. And I believe that Paul Coogan received the questions from Mike Sylvia.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't
After
doubt
all, he had a video instead of a live broadcast. Okay?
Well, look.
And remember, the Coalition for Social Misfits did the same thing. And I think Bobby Kudo may have prepared Paul Coogan with the questions. I don't know. But it was awfully odd that he had a 3-ring binder with all his answers ready.
Well, coincidence is not coincidence, but
That's right.
talked about debate. So let's go back to the debate. A debate is supposed to be a debate of issues. It's supposed to be a debate on people's records who have records and on people's platforms who have platforms. Right. They're supposed to ask incisive questions. And if you debate Boomer Amaral, you may not change your mind much, and he may not change his mind much, but the ideas you both put out there, if people watch a good debate, this is Hegel. Guys that are brilliant, a guy who has gone down in history with his theories of dialectic materialism and things like this, that when you have debate, you have your opinion, thesis, my opinion, antithesis, and then after we argue a lot, we might come to a synthesis, a better idea, like out of many, out of two ideas, a synergy. This is the thing. When you have a debate and people listen to a good debate, they can learn something. When they listen to this crap of you can't talk about the guy's record, you can't do.
We're going to redirect you. We're going to redirect you.
But the debate process is important for logical people because they may not move your needle, they may not move my needle. But if I debate and I go, well, you made maybe one good point in the entire debate. That one good point I'm going to remember. But then again, if other people start saying, well, I think he might have been, I say, well, I'm not 100% with that thing, but I can see where there's something you can accommodate that could get. And this is the thing. It makes you think. Continental Congress, they were fighting with each other all the time. But look what they came up with. The most brilliant document that was ever written. The Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And there were bitter fights. And like I said, there were knockdown, drag out wars on the Senate floor in Congress in the old days. I used to watch them. when I was young. I watched. I was a little baby basically, but I mean, I still watch tapes of the when Joe McCarthy was with Joe McCarthy, Tail Gunner Joe, and the kind of things that he said. He was way ahead of his time, saying, that the commies are infiltrating the colleges to brainwash the people, and here we are 75 years later, and that's exactly what they did with 3 or 4 generations, and they've become propaganda machines. But, we can only save ourselves, people, by thinking, not being not being visceral, not saying anybody that disagrees with me has to be dead. I'm sorry. And, like I said, he lost some more points. The Cohog was a, but and I got nothing against him, but I'll tell you what, you show me a guy that blocks me, then calls me names.
I hear you.
I don't have much respect for him. You want to call me a name? I'll call you a name right here. I've called Coogan names. I've called everybody. I've called every mayor, and I've gone before the council and said what I've got to say my whole life. I'm not afraid to say what I got to say. And like I said, it is, that's what you got to be. And we may never agree, but we can agree to disagree without being disagreeable. And
That's
this
it.
kind of stuff is another. You can't let this turn into physical violence and murder and then celebrate it. There's something wrong, Democrats. Look in the mirror. And the MAGA people or the Republicans who feel the same way and want to kill people, there's something wrong with them too. I mean, you can't. This country had had Quakers and Mormons and Christians and Protestants and every Protestant sect and Catholics come to this country and live in harmony with religious freedom and political freedom. You can only do that again if you allow that without saying we want the other side dead.
Right, right. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. Remember, get your ass in gear tomorrow. Get out and vote. I don't care who you vote for. Just get out there and vote. My vote's
Right.
already been cast. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. I want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great day. We're all set.